Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. I'm EJ Scott. Today, I am talking about Australia, Sydney, Australia. Why am I talking about Australia? Well, I ran the Blackmores Festival, the Sydney Blackmores Festival, running festival, and I ran the half marathon there. And for those that don't know, I am losing my eyesight to an eye disease called choroideremia. And what I've been doing for the last several years is, as a way to raise money for a charity, is that I've been running. So I started running in 2010 in Chicago. I ran 2 half marathons in preparation for a full marathon in Chicago, and that went well enough where I thought, well, maybe I could run 12 marathons in 12 states in 12 months in 2012, and that's what I did. And there's a documentary on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon to prove it called Running Blind. So please go check that out. It's only a couple bucks, like $2 or $3 to go and watch it and own it. And it's a 30-minute short, and you'll enjoy it, I think. Directed by Ryan Suffern. And so after that, I thought, well, I don't know if I could run anymore. That was a lot. And, well, you sit around for a couple of years and then your brain starts going. My grandfather was blind from choroideremia, and he went blind in his 40s. I don't know when exactly, but he went completely blind in his 40s. I just turned 40 in November of last year. And I thought, well, maybe I'll run a marathon on every continent when I'm 40. And I'll get to see the world and travel the world before maybe I can't anymore. So that was the idea, and I've never really traveled that much. So I thought this might be an opportunity. So that's what I've been doing. And Australia was the 7th continent I've touched. I've placed my feet on this year. I've placed my feet on all 7 continents this year. I didn't run all my runs yet. Sydney would have been number 6, except I was sick in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil a few months ago. Very sick, and I couldn't run. So I'm going back to South America. I'm going to Ecuador next week, and I'm going to run there. Although when this comes out, maybe it'll be over. I think when this comes out, that will be over. So I'll run the half marathon there. I've switched over to half marathons because my knees are giving out on me. I've run 2 full marathons this year and 3 halves this year. And Ecuador will be my 4th half, and then I go to Toronto to run another half. And then that'll be it. I will have run on all 7 continents in 1 year. And I would have seen a lot of stuff that I've never seen before and done a lot of things I've never done before. And it's been a really good year in that way of just experiences. The sickness and the injuries have not been fun at all. The traveling and the bullshit that you have to go through, and airports and uncomfortable seats and all of this stuff really sucks. But all that aside, everything else is really wonderful. So this is the Sydney Marathon, Australia. And I met a man named Phil in South Africa a couple months back when I ran there. And he was part of the marathon tour I was with. And he said he'd run with me in Sydney because he's from Sydney. He lives in Sydney with his family. And I was like, oh, that's great. And he was already familiar with the race. And he's never run it, but always wanted to run it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. He said he'd help me get other guides. I said, great, because I like running with other guides. I need a guide to run with because I run blindfolded. I'm legally blind now, but I run blindfolded because the sunlight's really bad for my eyes, and it also hurts my eyes a lot if I'm out there too long, even with dark sunglasses. And it's good because I can't see much. It's good to have somebody kind of watching your back, So I was like, great. So this guy's going to help me. And he was true to his word. He got a couple of guides to help, some friends of his. And at the last minute, not the last minute, but, a couple weeks before, he said he couldn't run because he got an operation the day before the race. And I interviewed Phil, and he'll explain what the operation is and what happened and all this stuff. Before I play that, I just want to give a plug to the website, to the podcast. So if you want to follow on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at EJ Scott and at EJ Podcast. I'm on Instagram at EJ Scott1106. My website, ejscott.com. And I'm running for charity, so please donate if you can. Crowdrise.com/7on7. That's the number 7 on the number 7. I've only raised like 1% of what I was hoping to raise this year, so it's a bit disappointing. But I understand times are tough, but there are good charities. I picked a bunch of good charities that are important to me and important to a lot of people. So if you check it out and give what you can, that'd be fantastic. Crowdrise.com/7on7. Okay, very good. The course, well, I'll talk about the course later, but all right. So I was able to meet up with Phil a couple days before the race, and we had lunch in Sydney. And I said, hey, can I interview you for my podcast real quick? And he said, yeah, sure. So that's what this is, about a 10-minute conversation with Phil where I talked with him about running and the operation he's about to get, which has now currently, as I say this, he has had, and he's doing okay. Okay, enjoy my talk with Phil Hartshorn. I should say his name better. I enjoy my talk with Phil Hartshorn. Okay, so I'm here with Phil. Phil, I met you in South Africa.
Correct.
And you ran the full in South Africa,
yes.
Right? And how'd you do in that race?
I was pretty happy with my results. It took us 2.5 hours to drive the course, and so I did it in 4.5 hours. So I was pretty happy with my result, as it turns out.
That's pretty good, because that's the time it took me to do the half marathon,
okay.
4.5. But you live in Sydney.
Yes.
And we met in South Africa, and you offered to be my guide in the Sydney race that's in 2 days.
I did offer to be your guide, and circumstances have unfortunately prevented me achieving that goal of being your guide. And the reason behind that is I have to have my first rib removed tomorrow, which is the day before EJ's race. So unfortunately, I've had to organise some other guides to assist him rather than being, I'll literally be in intensive care while the run is going on. So,
Could you elaborate more on what is going on with your rib and I guess your shoulder?
Yeah, so I have a situation where just purely my anatomy, my first rib is actually constricting and pressing on a vein, which is producing a blood clot. And so obviously blood clots are pretty life-threatening depending on sort of if they move and things like that. So it took us a number of weeks to actually diagnose exactly what was going on, because I had some symptoms with my arm, some general heaviness of my arm, and some other issues on my chest and a few nodules. And after the diagnosis, my doctor, my vascular specialist, said, look, you really need to get this addressed sooner rather than later. And with timing of the run and things like that, unfortunately, it just didn't work out. That availability of the theatre, the operating theatre, dictated that I had to have this operation sooner rather than later. And so tomorrow is my day, and then 2 days' time, EJ is going to do the run without me.
Are you disappointed that you can't run it? Because you've never run the marathon before.
So I am disappointed. So at the moment, I myself have a goal of doing a marathon on every continent. And so the two that I've got left to go is South America and Australia. So it's just going to have to be put off for another year, I guess, hopefully. And then I'll be all good to go again in 2 months' time after my operation. But obviously the running season in Australia getting into Christmas time, that's summer in Australia, and it's just way too hot to hold any real running events here because the temperature, I'm not sure of the conversion with Fahrenheit, but I'm guessing it's like 100, 110 degrees potentially in the middle of in the middle of summer in Sydney, which isn't conducive to running whatsoever, and especially running a marathon.
That's very dangerous.
Yes.
That's very dangerous. How long have you been running?
So I ran through school and then stopped running. I've always played a lot of sports, so soccer and tennis, and I cycle quite a bit. And then probably around 2011, decided I wanted to do a marathon. And so I finished sort of school in 1993. So I had a number of years off without sort of doing any running. And
you were like mid-40s, early mid-40s?
I turned 41 this year.
Oh, 41, okay.
Yeah, so
we're like almost the same age. I'm 40 myself.
Okay.
So we started running almost the same time. I started running in 2010.
Right.
And you started in 2011. How many have you done so far?
So I've done 5 marathons to this point. My first ever marathon was on the Great Wall of China.
Wow.
And I thought I was only ever going to do one marathon and tick it off the list, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got across to China, and I was amongst all these runners who were, just really excited about running, and they encouraged me just to do more running, and I realised that the 7 continents was a running thing, and I didn't know about that beforehand, and I've been sort of doing things that the run since then. So the next year I did, I can't remember, I did New York the year after it got cancelled, so maybe that was 2013. So I did it then. I've also since then I've done Antarctica and Berlin last year, and I did Africa this year. So I like the interesting marathons, so to speak, which is why I really enjoyed the one in Africa with the amongst the wildlife, so to speak.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty fascinating. Have you done like a lot of half marathons or anything like that?
I've never done a half marathon in my life. I've done a half Ironman.
Oh, wow.
So triathlon, so that's the only time I've run 21 kilometres is on the back of the swim and the bike leg in the half Ironman. So I've never run a half marathon.
Well, your first would have been with me.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're involved with this. You've been involved in this race in other ways in the past.
Yeah, so I actually know the organiser of this event. So in the past, I've actually cycled the events with the lead, either female or male runners. And so what my job has either been show them the course, like ride 100 yards up ahead just to make sure they went the right direction. And what I've also done in recent years is wear a little GPS unit in my back pocket. So for the TV coverage of the event, the commentators would know where the runners were at any point and how fast they were going and things like that. So that's really been my only involvement in this race to this point. I was going to be actually running this year, but it didn't quite work out.
It's always something.
I know. Yeah, I'm just lazy. An excuse to pull out.
Yeah, right. And you're a family man?
I am. So EJ has met my wife and my kids across in Africa. I dragged them across to Africa, which was actually that they really enjoyed the trip across to Africa.
Right.
So I've been married since 1999, and I have 3 kids who are now 11, 12 and 13. And so, they're sort of at a time in their life where they take up a lot of time, but it's fun time for me. Like, I love getting involved in their life, their sporting life and school and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
What do you do for work?
I'm a podiatrist by trade. So, deal with people's feet, but I haven't actually practiced as a podiatrist for about 15 years now.
Oh.
My day job is I manufacture foot orthotics for podiatrists. So I have a factory here in Sydney, and I also contract to a few different footwear companies and help design shoes and things like that. So it's sort of, with my running background and obviously my podiatry background, it comes together quite well.
Quite nicely. Nicely. Well, what's the next event for you?
So I've actually, getting back to it, I've got a cycling event for, I can't remember the exact distance, but it's 100 miles plus in December. So hopefully with my recovery from my shoulder operation tomorrow, the doctor suggests that shouldn't be an issue. I just need 2 months of recovery, and then I can do whatever I think I can manage. So December I can then do this 100-mile race. The only thing is, it's up in the alpine regions of Australia, so it's not as high as some of the heights elsewhere in the world. Australia is generally a pretty flat country, so we're talking only a few thousand metres, which is like 4,000 or 5,000 feet.
Okay.
I guess, but it's hilly terrain nonetheless.
Yeah, it still sounds. Are you nervous about the operation?
Nervous, probably no. It's dragged on for a few weeks now because I just needed to. No one was actually sure what was going on. I had this sensation in my arm that couldn't properly be diagnosed. I'd had a bunch of tests like ultrasounds and CTs and MRI. And so I'm more confident now because I've gone through this battery of tests and now I'm to a point where, look, this is really what needs to happen. I can either go on blood thinners for the rest of my life, which because I have a fairly active lifestyle, that's not really something that I would like to do. I'd prefer to get in there and have the surgery and get it sorted out. And so, look, nervousness is probably not the right way to describe it, but I just come to a point where I just need to have it done and we'll go in and do it and see what happens.
Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Yeah.
And thanks for helping me get other guides to run with me and all that stuff. And the thought of running with me was very kind for a perfect stranger like myself.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Look, I've sort of organised a couple of guides for you, and I think they'll actually do an excellent job. One of the girls who was helping out, she was involved with the Australian Olympic Commission, so she was across in Rio, and she had an interesting job. Her job in Rio was athlete liaison, and what that essentially meant is when the Australian athletes finished their competition, so let's just say I think the swimming was early on, the first week out of the few weeks of events over in Rio, her job was then to chaperone the athletes to go around and look at the sites and make sure that they went to interesting places. And because she's a Sydney local, but she went across there a few weeks beforehand and worked out where to go and how to get around, and that was her job. So potentially it would be good to actually interview her as well and get some feedback from her.
I'd like to.
About how all that sort of experience was, because it's from a completely different perspective. She's an athlete back in her day, not anymore. But so Sarah would be quite an interesting person to chat to, and she's one of the guides with you on Sunday. One of the other guides that I've organised is a guy called Mike Nielsen. He's a guy that I ride with regularly from around sort of where I live. So I live about maybe 40 minutes from the centre of Sydney, out in the suburbs, and I ride with him 2 or 3 times a week, like cycle, and I run with him sort of once every couple of weeks as well. So he's a fit guy, and he'll be able to hopefully push you along a little bit.
Well, it sounds good to me. I whatever help I can get, you know what I mean? So thank you again very much.
No problems at all. It's a great course. It's a very scenic course, and hopefully the weather will be nice and favourable, and it's a nice day for everyone.
At least it'll be over with early.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an early start. Yeah.
All right, let's have lunch.
Okay, excellent. Have fun.
Thanks, Phil.
No problems.
So there you go. The man had a rib removed. He couldn't run because he was getting a rib removed. That's a good excuse, I think. I've heard of people not running for a lot less reasons. Well, thank you, Phil, for being such a nice guy and offering to help nonetheless. You did help in finding me some great guides, and their names are Michael and Sarah, and they were fantastic. And so what I did after Phil told me he couldn't run was I contacted Achilles, which is an organization that helps blind and disabled runners. They're kind of all over the place, and they've helped me in the past. And there's a Sydney chapter, so I said I need a guide. My guide is getting an operation, and they said this woman, Deborah, is a great runner, and I said great. So she was on board. Deborah Colebrook, I believe that's right. And she goes by Debs, but I thought it was a good sign since my girlfriend's name is Deborah. I was like, oh, that's good. That's a good sign, I think. So here's what happened. So I had all 3 of the guides meet me at my hotel in Sydney at 5 a.m. on race day. which was the 18th of September. And so they were all on time, thank God. And we all walked to the subway and got the train to the start of the race. And while we were waiting, standing around waiting for the start, I did a real quick interview with the three of them, asking them what their thoughts were right now. I for myself, usually before a race, I am full of anxiety. Sometimes I can't even sleep the night before. I'm going nuts. Not so much this time. I got like 5 hours of sleep, which is good for me. I think 5, maybe 6. And that was pretty good for me. And I wasn't that stressed out. I knew I had 3 guides. I knew it was mostly going to be a flat race. The weather was a concern because the apps were saying that it was going to rain. It wasn't going to rain. It was going to rain certain times. It was going to, so I've never really run in the rain, so I was a little nervous about that. The temperature looked like it was going to be good especially if it didn't rain. And so I was feeling mostly pretty good. So I didn't feel too much anxiety about it. I was concerned about my knee though. I did a couple practice runs on the treadmill in the hotel, and my knee was holding up okay, but I knew it was going to be a factor during this run, and it was. But I'll get more into that a little later. But right now, give a listen to my interview with my 3 guides.
Please stand underneath it.
Hi, ladies.
Good morning.
What's your names, please?
I'm Deborah Colebrook, Sarah Burston.
And we are standing here. Oh, and Mike's here too.
Mike Nielsen, how you going?
Hi. So I'll make this real quick. So we're about to go to the start line to run the half marathon. You guys are guiding me. What are your thoughts before the race? I'll start with Deborah. You're actually going to be guiding me.
I sure am. Yeah. I think we've been really lucky with the weather. I think it's going to be a really nice run. Hopefully the sun will come out, go over the bridge. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, good. And you've done this before.
Yeah, I've done this run before. It goes through the city, over the bridge, through the city, through the park, and then over to Pyrmont. So yeah, really nice run around Sydney. Beautiful.
All right. And Sarah and Mike, Phil, who was supposed to be here but couldn't make it, and Deborah's taking his place. Any words for Phil today? Because he had an operation.
Oh, we miss you, Phil, and I hope it all went well. And yeah, you're here with us in spirit.
Have you run this one before, Sarah?
I have. I've done the marathon version of this, so yeah, excited to sort of run through my home, I guess, with you guys. It'll be good.
Have you ever guided before?
No, first time.
Well, thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
What about you, Mike? Have you run this before?
I haven't run this version of it, but I've done the half marathon about 5 years ago here, or 5 or 6 years ago, but it was more on freeways and things like this, so I'm looking forward to the coastal trek and enjoying the scenery. So, and guiding you, and no pressure, just enjoying, the pressure to guide you, but no pressure on me to run a fast time or anything, so I can just enjoy the scenery.
Well, also the pressure is on you. You have my GoPro, so you're my photographer today.
Yep, definitely. And we're going to get some great shots, that's for sure, so you can enjoy it for many years to come.
Well, thank you very much, you guys, for being here, and I'll probably try to talk to you again afterwards, okay?
Fantastic.
Thank you. Cool. All right, so then we get to the start line, and things go pretty quickly. We crossed the start about 15 minutes after the official start, which is pretty standard for big races. I don't know how many ran exactly, but we were set to run an hour before the marathoners, so our start time was 6. Is that right? Yeah, 6 a.m. start time. So we crossed at about 6:15, and then the marathoners got let loose at 7. But they were mostly on a different course. Towards the end, marathoners started running past me, like the elites and stuff. So it was mostly a good race. About mile 5, my knee started bothering me, And then that became an issue towards the last couple miles. I ran a little less. I took my walking breaks were a little longer. I had a goal of getting done by 9 a.m. and I pretty much met it. I think I was like 9:01 or something. That last kilometer, excuse me. I was like, oh, how much time do we have? And 5 minutes to 9. We have 1 kilometer to go. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I just gave it all I got at the end. And it's good to have multiple guides. What I do with Deborah is she runs with me the whole time. And she brought her own little tether, which was good. I usually use some sort of towel to hold on to. But the tether worked very well, I think. And we'll run for... I think I said, let's run for 10 minutes and take a 1 minute walking break. So they kept time. And if there was a hill like that went up, I would say, all right, okay, let's walk the hill. And if there was a hill that went down, if there was down, take advantage of it. Even if I'm walking, let's run it and try to make up some time with the downhills and the flats. And my time was officially 2:47:40, and I was pleased enough with that, considering everything that's been happening this year. It didn't rain. It rained a lot later that day, but it kept off of us. The weather was pretty nice. I think it was overcast the whole time, and it kept us cool, which was nice. And then so Mike and Sarah, their jobs were to run ahead and ask people nicely to move to the side so I can run straight, because that makes a big difference in time and in my mental and physical state too, of like running straight or trying to zigzag between people. It gets a little more dangerous. There's more opportunity for me to bump into people or people that bump into me, and for me to trip up. But this worked out pretty good. And I also gave Mike my GoPro, and he took some, I saw just a little, but some good shots of my running. So that was good. And Sarah was great. She held on to my cane, and so I was lighter. So it was great. And yeah, it was a overall good race. And I think it's one of the few races where I didn't bump into somebody, where somebody didn't bump into me. Usually what happens is I trip on people because they cut in front of me or whatever. And thankfully that didn't happen, because that hurts a lot on my feet and my ankles. It's a pain in the ass. It's a huge pain in the ass. But that went pretty well. Okay, so this next little clip is post race. We started walking out, going towards the subways. It was, of course, mayhem, and you can't go certain places, and they make it much harder to get out than it usually might be in that area without a race. But because it's race day and there's thousands and thousands of people, it's much more complicated. So anyway, at one point before we get on the subways, I grabbed those three and just did a quick post interview. Oh, okay. Hey guys, we finished.
Woo!
We finished.
We did. All done.
Hey, all done.
We did it.
We finished. Sarah, what'd you think? You were my scout. You and Mike were ahead of me and Debs, and asking people to move left or right. How was that?
Oh, I mean, it was pretty amazing. I think you get to see the reaction of people when they see what you're doing, which is incredible. So that was really special, and it was just I had a great time.
What was their reaction?
I think everyone's in their headphone world at the moment, so it's a bit of shock, and then they're like, oh, wow, oh my goodness. And then it's sort of they want to have a bit of a sticky beat for a while and clap you on and cheer for you and ask what your name is, and yeah, they were really interested.
That's pretty cool. Mike, you were my photographer. Any challenges with that?
Not too many. I just hope I've done the right thing.
Me too.
You can never tell until you get that video back again, but I hope I've got some great shots of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, all around Barangaroo, so I hope you get to relive it afterwards, and hope you send it over to us so we can see it or upload it.
If I could ever figure it out, I'll be happy to.
I was very honoured to be able to guide you along because it was really good.
Well, thank you very much for doing it. I appreciate it.
Not at all.
And Debs, you were side by side to me the whole time.
Yeah.
You've guided before. How many blind runners have you guided before?
I've probably guided about 50 runs.
Oh, 50?
Yeah.
50 runs?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
In a year and a half.
Yeah, in training and then in races as well. So all up.
So all right. So where'd I stack up for the other?
You're up there. You're pretty good.
I was okay?
Yeah, you're pretty good. There are a couple of things that I didn't point out when you nearly had a little fall, which I felt quite bad about.
Par for the
But
course.
as long as your knees are okay and you can go to your next run, then I'll be happy.
Well, you were really great, and I actually didn't bump into any people, which is very rare. I usually bump into people quite often.
Oh, good.
So you did very well.
Okay, excellent. I was willing to lay down in front of you. If it was necessary, I would have done that.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad it didn't come to that.
I've done it before.
Have you really?
Yeah.
So you've been running for how long?
Oh, it's like 10 years? Yeah, I did my first marathon 10 years ago.
In London or?
Down Great Ocean Road, Melbourne.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, gorgeous.
And do you think you'll keep guiding runners in the future?
Definitely love it. I'm not a quick runner, I don't think, but it means so much more to do it and meet people like yourself and be involved with Achilles. So I love it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you guys so much for helping me out. And Debs has a big date tonight, and we hope that goes. Our first day, hope it goes well.
Deb and Garth, go for it.
Thank you.
So thanks, guys. Bye.
Well done.
There you go. Thank you so much, Sarah Burston, Mike Nielsen, Deborah Colebrook, Phil Hartsum. I hope I'm saying those names right. It's really awesome that you guys helped me. I could not have done it without you guys. That is for sure. And thank you, Achilles, for your help. You've helped me a few times, and hopefully you'll help me again with my next race in Ecuador, because I'm short one. So far, I'm short one guide. I need one more guide. So there you go, folks. So once again, I am running for charity. Go to crowdrise.com/7on7, and please donate what you can. I'm running for all sorts of great causes: Parkinson's, ALS, blindness, autism, Rett syndrome, Crohn's disease, mental illness, cancer. So there's something for everybody. So go check that out, please. And if you like the podcast, leave some comments on iTunes, subscribe, and let's see. Follow on Twitter at EJ Scott and at EJ Podcast. I know I'm repeating myself, but and share with your friends. Tell people about my podcast. Tell people about what I'm doing this year. Go check out Running Blind on iTunes. And thanks so much. See you next time.